Let me firstly go through about my introduction. Obviously, you heard about a little background about myself. So I'll basically go through what my background was. So I did my BTech from SGS ITS, which is a state level college in Indore. So I basically completed my electronics and communication from there. So the fun part, I guess, working in a studying in a government education is there's no situation where you have to go for work for attendance at all. So it was quite a uh, privilege, I guess. So I had a lot of free time there. I didn't like my electronics, the study at all. So in the first year, I basically explored about things, what is there in EC, and I felt it's not something I wanted to go on. So like in second year, I basically heard this about Google Summer of Code, and not from any senior or something through. So I figured out that GSOC is something that could give me a little advantage from what I've been like. My background was pretty bad. Even my CGPA were never touched above 7. So
Actually, I'll just
so I
stop
had
for a second. I'll just have our students like just tell their opinion on this. So students, how many of you have heard about GSOC? So please either raise your hand or you can just put in the chat. Like all of you are aware of GSOC before this. And to your story, Akshay, we all can connect. No one like initially I was in physics, so I know I didn't like physics, so I shifted to computer science, and I'm sure many of our students will connect to it, like not liking your branch and then shifting to software development. It's a story of mostly all the EC and triple E people, I think. Students, let's
like
make it interactive. Otherwise, it will be a lecture. We do not want it to be a lecture. We want students to speak. We want you to ask right questions to Akshay. So please go ahead. How many of you knew about GSOC before? How many of you have applied about GSOC?
I don't know.
You didn't know? Okay. I think if you didn't know, I think Akshay, you also have to tell the students like what is GSOC, like from the scratch.
yeah, yeah.
Lot there's so many people. Few years back, I didn't know what was
Hmm.
GSOC. Until unless one of my friend cracked it, and then I came to know. So I think let's start from scratch. Let's tell our students
Yeah,
what
sure, sure.
GSOC is.
So Google Summer of Code is it's a program which is hosted by Google, and they basically act as a platform. So there are many organizations. So these organizations are basically all open source organizations, and they select these organizations based on some criteria which Google internally has. So every year you could see there is 200 organization, 206, and this all. So basically, I was in GSOC 2018. I was as a student in GSOC 2018, and in 19 I was mentor for the same organization. So I pretty much kind of know both being from the both sides. So I pretty much know how the selection criteria goes and everything else. So basically, uh, the main focus for Google Summer of Code was the early, I guess, co-founders basically saw that open source is something from Google. Early founders of Google basically saw that open source is something is publicly driven. I mean, community driven, and they thought like if we contribute to this, basically their own engineers actually using quite a lot of open source projects. So it's better that they like promote this culture, and that's why in 2005 they started this program. And since then every year it's been uh, like uh, every year they have like around same number of organizations they select and around these many projects. So this is actually the number of students who work on the projects. So you can see like always there is 1,000 plus students all over the world who basically participate in Google Summer of Code. So the Summer of Code is basically when the duration. So it starts during, I guess, every year it changes a little bit, but most of the time it's from June to it's 3 months, June, July, August. So that's the 3 months when you will basically work with open source community. And so if you don't know about like open source community or open source um, like any project, you basically if you are running Linux or any operating system. So this was the like very old open source project by the Linux creator, and this is something it's not the initial which triggered this, but obviously uh, you could see most of the product that you use probably if you use VLC for playing any videos on your computer. It's also an open source. Firefox, which I have been using, it's a Firefox, it's an open source project. So these are all driven by community, and GSOC is just a platform to encourage people so they could start contributing to it. So this is, if you have any question, let me know, or else I'll go ahead just. So I'll go through what are the like advantages that open source basically brings to you. Not just one of the thing is here itself. It's a good brand that you have on your resume, and the 3 months program is something which you work with, which you work closely with some industrial specialists, like they are actually the engineers who are writing codes, and those are expert. If you are working in Firefox, for example, they probably know a lot about the Firefox and all the things. So this is something you gain as much knowledge as you can from there, learning with them. And the second also is that basically you get a stipend working for the open source. And I guess after like going after cracking like GSOC, or even if you contribute to open source, you kind of learn a lot of things from the open source. So I'll start from what basically you learn from contributing to it. uh, so every open source project needs to have like end-to-end testing. So basically they start with automated test. So those are like unit test. So this is something you will basically use later on in your life. You will be writing test for every test for every company whatsoever. So this is in open source, they basically don't accept any code unless you have written end-to-end testing for that. So that is something you will learn from here. And contributing to open source, I think, kind of build up your muscles to basically explore the code without having any bad days. So if you keep on like contributing to open source, you develop a muscles. Like you could basically go, you don't need anybody basically KT or like knowledge transfer or uh, something from them to basically learn about how that system actually works from start, like from the scratch, how what they do and how they make so that this system perfectly works. So that is, I think, kind of what fascinated me as well, because if you remember in like college days, we basically learn all things about like let's just say like in operating classes, you learned about all the scheduling algorithm and everything, but you never know what is actually is being used in Windows or Linux or Mac. So if you have the like curiosity to learn about what exactly, which kind of things that is running our system nowadays, you will find quite a drastic change, because the things that you learn in your curriculum may or may not be what is actually used in the industry currently. So for example, scheduling algorithm which you learned in your classes, it's not the same that is being used in Linux now. So that is very advanced, and you could basically learn all the research that been put on just for the the one specific part of the project. So it shows a kind of wide area that you could just go on and explore on your own. So, and there is also one line said by the Linux creator itself: "Talk is cheap, show me the code." So it's kind of very aligned with the open source, at least for this sense, because most people, even if they don't have a well documented project, it still continues and people do contribute even then. But of course, the well documentation always helps. So those are like apart from which is something I didn't cover, because if you have something on your resume, like even a GSOC or open source contributor, it shows the employer a lot of the things and these qualities altogether. So majority of the cases, they just assume that even if you can contribute to open source, they don't have to invest a lot for your training, so that you could start working in their team on the first day itself. So this is something I feel very true, and I've been it's kind of same for me as well. So so basically these are the advantages that you get from contributing to open source. If you have any question, like, you could stop me anytime. Just let me know.
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Sir, is this only students can participate in this? Like, can we do
Yeah,
this
yeah,
after
yeah.
the call?
No. So you have to be students. So this is the criteria that they have. You could read about the FAQ page, which probably has all the answers, like what's the eligibility criteria. But at least you have to be in college for. I mean, even if you are in final year, you have at least till June. I mean, you probably graduate after June, right? So even then, in final year, you could still contribute to open source, and it's still considered as a legal. So you will not be having any problem, because for the eligibility criteria, you have to give either your I guess they take the last semester exam report or some sort of proof to actually register
Check.
yourself. Yeah. So yeah, these are the eligibility criteria that you should follow. So every information you could find on this page, summerofcodewithgoogle.com. This is currently archived because it starts from generally February, where they announce all the organization that will be participating this year, and they then start after, I guess, after a month, you could actually register on this platform, and then you could basically write proposal for this. So the things I wanted to cover more on here was, how do we actually start contributing to open source? But before that, let me just go over the whole GSOC procedure so that you could have an idea. So just like I said, in February, you will have this platform open, and you could register for this platform, and you will know how many organizations will be participating for that. So let's say in 2020, you could see 199 organizations were there, and these are the list of all the organizations. And you could basically search any organizations or any projects that you wanted to find out. So selecting organization is very a crucial step for the Google Summer of Code, because there are kind of, I would say, two different types of organization that you could find on GSOC. So majority, like the bigger names, for example, the Firefox, which generally gets 20 plus slots every year. And there are some communities which are new, or uh, which are not so like frequent occurring in every year, but they still get one or two slots. So basically, one slot is basically they could offer one student the guidance and all the things they could, and Google select and give some budget according to that organization. So this is basically one slot is equals to one student. So uh, so once you select, and the selecting for any organization is where you have to carefully select any organization, because generally the case is, if you see the trend of all these years, people people tends to go in the community, they introduce themselves, and they start kind of working on this, but majority of the students basically stuck after this level, like how they start contributing, and they don't know how's the procedure in and what exactly they need to know for that. So I'll cover that in a second, but once you like break through that and you at least have some contribution to it, then after a month, this platform will start accepting proposal. So the proposal is where you write all the things about what the scope of this project is, and what do you know. So I'll give you a 1 second. So they have one quite good talk on how to write a proposal. So basically, you go through all the things. I'll write this down in the chat. So you could go through this and know about what exactly do you know. I mean, how exactly you have to write proposal. So majority of the time that you'll be spending on is actually the contribution part. But once you have a couple of contribution, probably more than 5, then you could basically start working on writing proposal for the project that you selected. And writing the proposal is the most challenging part. I mean, not the challenging part, but basically most important part, because that actually describe how well you understood the project, and how exactly you're basically breaking down the project into timelines. So I don't think this covered that. Uh, I don't think this talk has that covered, but you have to basically break down your tasks to each week. So you have to decide, like, if this work is gonna take so much time, then probably this much is in and out of that project, and you basically estimated the right amount of time for that things to work on. So this shows like you know the project and you could pretty much start working on it before without needing much guidance from the mentors. So obviously mentors, and one more thing that you have to keep in mind is get as many feedback as possible from mentors, because they are the actual owner of that project, and they basically know most of the things and how they are planning to uh, take out forward. So get together with mentors and get as many feedback as possible, and then you basically submit proposal on the GSOC. So then what happens is you basically don't know the you just have to wait for like 2 months probably, and that is when they announce how many students are actually selected for the GSOC. And behind the scenes, all the community members, they uh, discuss which proposals are good, and they give some points, and they select the student based on proposals and their active, how they are active in the community. So that is also one thing that you have to keep in mind. So don't just contribute, be active, and ask questions, help others to get started with contributing to open source as well, because that kind of shows that you will be, I mean, that is something they want, because they don't want you to like vanish away after this program. They want you to stay here and just contribute as long as possible in the community, because they really value contributors. So most of the trend that we could see in India at least, or even most of the students, what they do is they just get selected for GSOC, they complete, they get the like stipend, and then after that they never contribute back to community. So it is kind of like an anti-pattern, I would say, because Google, the only reason Google is doing this so that the more and more people could contribute to open source. And it's not just during the summer, it's actually any time that you can contribute to. So that is their main motive, and we should kind of respect that and even contribute after getting into GSOC or after some year as well.
Yes, Akshay,
So
I have seen that you have like continuously contributed to open source. So tell us more about your contribution in open source, like your projects and how our students will be able to give that first contribution in open source, what they should do, how it started for you.
yeah, sure. So like I said, in second year, I just
Is it a connection problem, I think, from his side?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
But
we'll wait for him to come back.
yes, if you have any questions, you can add in the chat. So I think I added my question, but it usually takes up to a few weeks to write the proposal, get the right feedback, and first of all, choosing the project and choosing the proposal is the second part. The first part usually comes on, how you will be adding to the project. Which part do you want to write to the project? So yes, if you have any questions, you can add in the chat. I think he'll come back. Just disconnected. This happens.
I think he was connected from two devices and one of them dropped out, I think.
Being a professional now, Vedant is asking, how are you now contributing? It's a good question.
Good question, yeah.
Good way. He has been active contributor in Python. He's back.
sorry, I'm not in Bangalore, so yeah, Wi-Fi is pretty bad.
It's fine. It's fine. We can understand.
Yeah. So anyway, basically, I was going through my journey in open source. So I started with something that I was interested in at that time. So I was going through few natural language processing libraries. So one of them was NLP, and they kind of never, I don't know they ever appeared on GSOC or not. Hello?
Yes, yes, Akshay, you're audible. Hello?
Yeah, one
Yeah,
second.
okay.
Can you see my screen?
No, we cannot see your screen, but we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, electricity breakdown.
It's fine. It's fine. Do you want me to share something? If you want, I can share.
No, 1 second, I'll just start.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, so you can see my screen right now, right?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Hello?
Yes, we can see your screen, Akshay. Hello?
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is some lag, sorry for.
It's totally
So,
fine.
okay. So I started with GenSim, and there I got to know all the things about the Git workflow, how the GitHub works. And then soon after that, I started contributing to GenSim. So, and that kind of gave me foundation to actually how to start and contribute to anything. So I got one mentor from Russia, and he was pretty much helping me in most of the things. So there I learned like more about NLP and less about software principles. So how to write good codes and everything. But it was very good one. Then I started with Clone. So this is where uh, I kind of did my GSOC in 2018. So this is the actual report that we have to submit to Google for the final evaluation. So there is 3 evaluation in between for each month, and this is something you will be able to see from their website as well. And this has all the PR, all the things that I worked on, right from each periods, community bonding where you don't actually work, but you discuss things with mentors and all those. Then first evaluation, second evaluation, and third, and so on and so forth. And something you planned but didn't happen, it's something you also write in this. But it was so 100% unit test is what we targeted, but we just reached out 92%, which is still okay. We improved like 6.67 and things like that. But yeah, so after like Plone, contributing to Plone organization, I kind of learned end to end, like how you basically write softwares, and it's basically a framework for, just like Django. This is they use for CMS. Django is more generic framework, but this is for CMS, content management systems. So I pretty much learned most of the things from here. But after like completing GSOC, I then went for, I pretty much liked the Python language. So it's something I always liked from the beginning, and I picked up just Python, and better to contribute to Python as well. And CPython is a project, see the source code for it. So this is a CPython project, basically all the compiler and everything's for Python. And I end up having like 4 PRs merged on, I guess 3 or 4 PRs merged here. So this was, I guess, the most challenging one, because contributing to Python itself is a huge deal. And they have like some part of code written in C and some part of code written in Python. But that Python is actually quite good, because they are the creator and they write quite a great codes there. So that this was something I did like in final year, apart from like mentoring students for 2019. So this was, and like after this, I started contributing to this. I started getting, interest in distributed systems, and that's when like recently this is the CockroachDB. I haven't actually made any PR till now, but I'm planning to. So basically I'll walk you through how the contribution actually works for this one. And I'll tell you, so this is where, this is CockroachDB, and this is where their GitHub is where they host all the codes. And you could basically see everything in their README, all the details that you want. So if you don't know what is CockroachDB, CockroachDB is just a distributed database, but they kind of gives you all the ACID properties, which no distributed system actually can till this point. Even Google has a spanner, which doesn't have all the SQL properties. So this is unique in itself. And internally, it uses several other things, and you could read about everything. But I don't want you to be overwhelmed by this all the information and jargons. I just want you to just how you approach contributing to an open source organizations. This is something which will be similar for any community, And this is something is where most of the students actually stuck in initially. So I thought it would be a good one to tackle that. So basically, once you decide any organization that you want to contribute, that's when you basically start reading their code. So the reason I choose Cockroach for this example is obviously I have some interest in this, but from the other point of view, they have a pretty much detailed documentations, and you could see from their issues as well as their pull request, they are kind of very active on this page. So you could see there's few issues which are created just before like 4 hours. So this could mean that they are actively working on. So that could, I mean, have a great advantage, because then you don't have to wait for like a week or two to get their review. And this is something which is important as well. So when you go into issues, then you basically select for labels, either good first, or yeah, currently there is Oktoberfest as well, but you could go and select filter on basically this tag, and then you could see which all things that you could work on without much knowledge. I mean, you don't have to read all the codes. You could basically pick any things that you could at least understand, and then you could start reading code from there. So for this, like for the purpose of showing, I'll just pick this issue because I kind of went through this one and I know pretty much a little bit of idea of what it does. So every issues will have some description about what's the problem is and what's their expectation from there. So this is just a normal query where they gave this one and they expected to get foo, but instead they are getting this error. So basically every piece of software that you would see in GitHub, and they will have some sort of bugs or something. And this is something, firstly, try to like digest what exactly they are saying, and exactly see what is the problem and what is the expected behavior. Then once you got that, I would basically shift to, you could see my screen here also, right? So then what you do is, so this is, I basically cloned this days ago. And this is more or less the whole package that they have on GitHub. So one step is just you clone that project and you build it. So for going through that, you basically need to know few things. You just have to follow the, so here they have everything. If you need help, you could reach to Slack for asking any questions. So this is the community Slack that they have, and you basically have any doubt. If you're stuck anywhere, you could reach out to them here, right here. But we want to like start contributing. So this is something will be useful for us. So it says like try looking for good first. Oh, we actually done that. So we found one good first issues. And now what we want to know is how do you actually build this project? So basically go to, they say you go to our wiki for more details. So we'll go there. And this is all the resources that you need for this. But right now, what we are interested in just building this project. So I'm using Mac OS, so I'll go through that. And it says all the steps that you need to actually install all the dependencies, and then you could have it running. So I already did that, and I have it running. So I'll show you what the. So this is I found out in their wiki resource as well. So you could go there, and there is all the resource that you need is actually here. So the same applies for every organizations. You could they have all the docs for the installation, for the debugging, for everything. So for this purpose, let's go back to this issue that we just found. And let's just try out what exactly is the problem here. Just copying everything, and this is just to run the cockroach cluster, and this will start us just like SQL. You could just use that and run all the query. So you could run, anything here, just like any SQL commands. But for now, let's try out the same one where they found the error is. Let me just copy that. So they did that and something here and here. So there's something related to this dollar sign, pay little advantage here. So what's the problem is, uh, when you select this one, it basically go and encode this string, remove all the dollar sign, and it should just give us something which is separated by dollar basically. So if you remove these dollar from both end, you'll get foo1. From here you'll get foo1 till this point if you remove the first dollar. But then also you have the dollar here as well. If you start removing that, you should get this foo, which is something is expected from it. But if you do that, one sec. You get the same error as they got there. So first process is obviously just try to reproduce the same error here and see that you could get the same error. So I changed little bit. It was not working for me using this one, but still working here, and it's good. We could just you start working with this one. So the expected behavior from this one, it should be, we should get just foo1 from out of this, because that is that is in between these dollar signs. But instead we are getting this error. So now you pretty much got the gist of what the problem is. Now, how do you actually solve this problem? So like, how do you actually go about solving this? So one kind of clue we got is like, this is a select. So we basically have to search all the code that is needed, that is just executing from select. So what we could do is just to go on, find all the select, like all the codes that is associated with select command, basically. So there, just we want to go through Go. These are actually the test data, so we don't have to go through these. But here we find couple of files. So there is one for OPT builder, there is one for ordering, there is one for tree. So obviously right now it doesn't make any sense for me as well to which one of these will be, but you pretty much get the gist of how to actually start working by reading one of the docs. So you will get a good idea when you will read about how exactly the cockroach DB works. So this is something you have to do it, and you have to understand exactly little bit of what the database, how this database actually work. But for now, basically you spend like a couple of days reading these talks and you'll get pretty much idea. But I'll give you some pointer here. So just now I was going through this one. So basically this, anything under this tree folder, let me go, yeah. So if you go here, this everything in this tree structure actually is the is something which go through the query that you wrote, and it builds up ACT, abstract syntax tree. This is something you might have learned in your compiler course, but it's something not, I don't know, but I have vague idea about. So basically, in any like in any language or something, you basically convert the code to ACT, like AST, abstract syntax tree. So for that, you basically have to confirm, like, is the syntax that you wrote actually valid or not? And you get pretty much idea about how the execution would look like after building AST. So this is something is same for this as well. It basically build that. But then what's the, I mean, you still don't know, like, is this really the file that I've been looking? I mean, this is really the file that we should start debugging? Well, I itself don't know yet. So what we do basically is, for any language that you're basically contributing to, get a little bit idea about the language, because then you don't have to struggle for it. But so basically learn about how the debugger you could use in this language. So for just say, this is the select this one, and I could just add a debugger right here. And basically I will run the SQL CockroachDB one more time. And so what will happen after that is, it basically stuck at this point, and you will have all the stack traces for that. So then you go through what is exactly the path that the code is executing. So you get pretty much good idea about how the that's why that is like one of the like we exactly don't know how the execution in these all files actually work. But by putting a debugger and going through the code path, you realize some patterns. So you realize how actually the code is executing. And then it's pretty, I mean, it gets a little more clear to you that which is the file that you should actually look on. And just for the sake of like easiness, there is one more clue here. Okay, this guy started working on anyway, but just for the sake of displaying that, we also have one more clue right here. So he says, like, there is already a PR that added this feature. So we should go through that PR to have a good understanding of how they actually work. So this is a pull request that some other person made. So this is how you actually uh, make changes and get it reviewed and then merge it. So it was already merged. And this is something you will get the idea, like, okay, so they have already a method like scan dollar quoted string, and they have it right here. So what I'll do is basically copy this code path, and I will go inside here and right here. So then I will search for that dollar. So here you find it. And if you go inside, you will find the function. So then you got little bit idea like how exactly this thing works. But the question is, why is it not working now? So that's when you actually use the debugger. You basically run it one more time, add a debugger right here, and see what exactly is the things that is changing and what is not. Then you get little bit idea like, okay, this is the bug that is, or sometimes it may be like then they didn't know like this exceptional case that we found here, we the user will anyway use this one. So you basically use the same thing and see what the variables values they have right there. And you could pretty much get the whole idea like why is it not working for this case. And that's when you pretty much start working on it, and you create a pull request for this. So once you add the like fix for this one, then you write test. The test is actually, I'm sorry. So the test is actually using the same thing. You have one test case right here. So you could use the same one, and instead it should return this foo. So you have one test case right here, and you could make it. And then you just make a PR for this. So in like, I can't really solve this right now because I don't have that much time, but you get the pretty much idea like how exactly the workflow is and how you should approach any problem, any bug. The same is true for any feature as well. You basically get the idea about how the things are working, and then you start contributing. So
One second. Diksha, can you mute, please? Prachi, can you mute Diksha? Yeah, continue. Yes.
yeah. So if you have any question, I'll basically pause for a few seconds. And this is probably like a little intense to you, but it's I mean this basically CockroachDB is something I picked up, but that is not how all the open source organizations are. So this maybe look a little bit tougher to you right now, but you could choose anything that you worked on, like in previous internship or in previous projects that you made. So let's say you already know a little bit of React, then probably a better organization to choose would be someone who is already working in React. So those kind of choices you would do for selecting an org, but the overall how to contribute part, it stays the same for any organizations. So that's what I wanted to cover in this one. And one more fun part about contributing to I mean participating in GSOC is if you are in uh, let's say mid-sized organizations, then they also have conferences around the world. So you basically get to present your whole project on the conference, and those conferences happens like every year around the world. So I'm not sure about this time because it's Corona, and obviously 2020 students probably missed that. But generally, I was fortunate, like was given this opportunity to go to Tokyo, and there I presented my work in front of whole community, and that is something is very like valuable because there you also get an opportunity to interact with other people's, make network, use their connections to get next internship probably, or things like that. So this is something you could use anywhere, even if you like get into some internship, you could go to any meetup, because this is something I did for every internship I went. So when I was in HealthifyMe was also something I got from a connection. Basically, I met him in some meetup, and there we discuss about what things I'm doing and what things he's doing, and he found out very interesting about the things I was doing. And next time I just reached out to LinkedIn, and there I got another internship. So this is something like currently if you just reach out to any unknown person on the LinkedIn and you just ask for referral for any internship or any job, why would they like give you? I mean, if your resume really speaks loud, then probably they would, but otherwise they would just be like more inclined to giving someone they already know or met in person. So I think whenever you go out, like in any internship, make connections, go to meetup, learn about new tech stack and everything. But apart from that, also like interact with other people's, because they are the actually chances for your next internship. And this is something I used throughout my career. So I did like first internship was just in a startup with I guess 5 members, and the next internship was like a mid-tier with HealthifyMe, which was good. I mean, they have a solid user base. And after that, Hackerrank. So you see the progression, but basically I just used all this connection because like coming from EC as well as state level college is not something you'll get any offers like that you get in IITs or NITs or something. So you have to work upon that. But I guess meeting other people, interacting with them is one of the plus point that you could leverage at any opportunity that you get. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. If you have any question, you could definitely ask me.
Thank you, Akshay. I think there are some questions. I think you already answered, which Vedant was asking, which is like being a professional, how are you now contributing to open source? I think you already showed him after that, the cockroach DB. But do you find time?
Oh yeah. That is something I've been like facing quite a challenge. So when I was switching from, it was tough, and then you have to learn so much in the new company that you can't find time for it. But as soon as you get comfortable with the tech stack there and the work, I guess then pretty much you could start like working and contributing to open source. So in like last year, I was basically mentoring one student, which was around the time when I joined Hackerrank. So in the GSOC like 2019. So that was challenging, but after that things become easier, and then you get time for this. So obviously learning is something you have to like keep striving for, because you could see pretty much in any company that you go, you will get comfortable after a certain point, and that's the actually point where you start like you should explore something else, so that you don't get fed up with the work, or there should be some challenging stuff that you should do. Otherwise I don't think something like you will go down in a different rabbit hole, which I would not advise to go. So yeah.
Akshay, can you just
But
talk?
it's hard like but even in the weekend it's yeah Vedant,
Yes.
sorry.
No. Sorry, man, for interrupting. So like I think one question which usually students have is like how to start. Like you have defined the process, but I think a lot of it is persistence, right?
Hmm.
So how much time did you thought of like okay,
Yeah.
I start contributing and then you contributed. So how much time did you took from that moment to the first commit?
Yeah, that is, I guess, a lot. It's not something happened in a week. It actually took a month. So it was always on and off process for me. So let's say today I got some like really exciting things to know and some motivation. So I start today. But then going through the code base, I get stuck. So I don't know what to do now. So basically, you give time, because otherwise you will just be overwhelmed with a lot of informations. So I guess it takes time, and the things could be challenging more if you are actually targeting a different language, a different tech stack, and a different stream altogether. So let's say if you already know React or some level of backend that you already know, suppose let's say in Java or Python, then picking something which is similar to that is easier than going all together and in a different one. So it takes time basically. So as I said, in my third year, I just started with like so much motivation that yes, it is possible, anybody can do it. But basically I took whole year to have a meaningful contribution. So I'll show you. uh, I think you could pretty much see. I don't know. I forgot the query, I guess.
It is inside a repository in contributions. All right, students, you can continue to ask questions on questions. All right, so on the internship side, I think there are some questions which how much importance do you think like the like PPO is something which is very important which helps you get a job, But the other internships to build a career, or in even in the future cases, the Healthify or the first company which you interned with, how much important were those? The learning curve there and all of that. Hello, Akshay, can you hear me? I think his internet is bad. Yes.
Okay, I think he's back. I can see the cursor moving on the screen.
Yes.
F-
Yes, Akshay. You
yeah,
can
can you
share.
hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear.
Sorry,
It's
lot of
fine.
trouble with Wi-Fi.
It's fine, man. It's fine.
So coming to your question, I think internship for me was really one of the only path where I could learn a lot. So if you are from computer science, definitely you should learn all the fundamentals first. So problem solving and all the CS concept is definitely necessary. I'm not arguing on that. But apart from that, when you learn, you have some basic foundation, then you should basically do as much internship as possible. Because for me, I didn't know what exactly I have to make project. I like starting the project were pretty shitty, to do app and all those things. I guess everyone went through that. But once you go to like internship and start making project, then it kind of opens you to some other ideas that you could make. So this was something I faced, and I think if you are already learning computer science, then you probably have so much area there where you get ideas. But for other people from other stream, I guess internship is something that you should definitely do as much as possible.
Yes. 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 I think I agree 100%. Like just adding like one line, like before my internship and after my internship, like there was a huge difference in my quality of code.
Yeah, that is
So,
true.
yeah. So I think Priya has actually asked how to actually choose which organization to contribute.
Yeah, so I think I covered a little bit of that, but basically I'll go quick on that. You have, if suppose you already have some interest in some organizations or some product that you choose. Let's just say Firefox. You already use Firefox browser, and you want to improve that product. Then you already have some interest there, so you could just start working on that. But I will tell you, like, this is the ideal way, but you also have another strategic way, let's just choose two organizations. One is which is bigger one, because the bigger one gets a lot of attractions. So you are not only one contributing to that project, there'll probably be 100 200 students also thinking about choosing this organization as their GSOC. So there you have to make, yeah, I mean, you have to strive a lot, like you have to make a lot of contribution to actually get attention there. Other way around is you basically choose a mid organization and give as much PR and raise as much PR as possible. And there you already made one display, like you already made some advantage right there, and you could do that. But the in like currently GSOC already, I mean, they disclose all the organization right in February. So we are in October, so we don't know actually what are the organizations that will be participating this year. So we kind of take a guess here. So we go through the trend of like last 3 years and see how many slots these organizations are getting, and what exactly, I mean, they are, how much frequent are they? And then based on that, you choose two organizations. So one is as a backup, one is as a where you contribute most of the time. So this is how I chose. So GSOC GSOC actually gives you to have as many proposal, but limited to just 3. So you can submit at most 3 proposal. So which is something I used all the 3, and I went through 3 projects. I made 3 proposal right there, 2 in the same community and 1 in another one. So that's why you kind of balances, like it shows that you are interested in this organization because you made 2 proposal, but you also don't want to left out because of the stiff competition that other peoples are giving. So I guess you could take any approach which you like, but the second one is probably the best. At least it worked out for me.
Yes, yes, yes. That's any students, any more questions from Akshay? I think there's a slight, students are so intrigued by, okay, like how can we contribute? They're just thinking, like, how can you start contributing? And they recognize, okay, like it's not a very easy path. It requires some persistence in the
Yes,
beginning.
exactly.
Yes.
And the thing is, it is same for others as well. So like, don't get hanged up just by seeing the complexity, because it is difficult for other students as well. So you're not alone. You just have to persist for a while, because you'll see in the like trend that you see every year in the GSOC. For first 15 days, there will be like hyperactive and all those questions that will be asking. But after 15 days, they kind of move on to some other organization because they find it very difficult here. So the key is like stay there, pick one organization and just stay there and make as much progress there as possible.
Yes, yes, yes. In the meantime, I'm also sharing the link to the community. I think most of you are already part of a community, but it's just a WhatsApp group where we take an algo class every day and have like links to these meetups. You can join there. Yes, students, you can continue asking. Does anybody have any more questions on Akshay? I think we're already 10 minutes past the time. So we can have 1 or 2 last questions. All right. Thanks a lot, Akshay, for joining today. I think
It's
is something which I think most of our students really want to contribute. They really want to start, and I think they will get time. We are finishing with the first batch in November and December, and they will get like 3, 4, 5 months of solid time before their first job to start contributing or start working on projects. I think that is
yeah.
one of the options.
Hmm.
Yes.
And that is one of the good way, because already you have made quite a lot project during this curriculum. And obviously once you start perfecting your code and thinking about the clean code architecture and knowing about the design principles, that is something you will get while contributing to open source. You will not learn it by just reading through books. You will learn it only when you face such problems. And I guess open source clearly is something which worked out for me, and I guess it will work out for everyone else. So I definitely want everyone else to please contribute to open source whenever you get time, and get the benefits.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Just for
Continue.
everyone, I think Vedansh has pinged the link, and with this call ends, that link will go away. Either click on it or you can just copy it for your help.
Yes. 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 I think everybody is part of our the people I see here. Everyone is part of, except Diksha maybe, but yes, it's part of our. So yes. So Akshay, thanks a lot. We wish to see you more in the future, and we would really like if some of our students start contributing. So Python is also one of our primary language which we learn, and if they start picking up some good issues, we would really want you to look at their code reviews, like if they reach a level, if they have the initial setup and everything. like guide him
Yeah,
and have
sure,
you back
sure.
here. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's my pleasure to be here and share all this information. But I obviously happy to mentor anyone, whoever feel like need guidance more, and definitely reviewing any PR. Uh, so yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. I think that would be that would be a real boost. When they start
yeah,
contributing, I think that is one place where people really need in the help in the beginning to get familiar with the community. Thanks a lot, Akshay, for doing this. I am very sure that students have a really good time. They are really motivated to go back and start to look out at least the issues today, good first issues and all of that.
yeah,
Uh, Thanks a lot. We'll have you
yeah.
back another
Sure,
time.
sure.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
I hope to. Thank you for this opportunity. See you
Thanks.
next time.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Akshay. Thank you.